Over here.
Huh?
Now, as I was saying, are you at least 10 years old, still without a present father figure, and having just found out about Dark and Steel types, eggs and breeding, shiny Pokemon, a day-night cycle, and hell items? Hopefully our dad comes back soon. We start our journey in New Barktown of the Johto region, being inspired by the Kansai region of Japan, where apparently child labor laws haven't been enforced yet because the Pokemon professor known as Elm is making us an errand boy, but not without having us decide on who our starter is.
Krakatawa!
Now that we're equipped with our echidna porcupine flamethrower thing, our unpaid errand takes us to Cherry Grove City, where an old man who can run faster than Pikachu hopped up on X speed gives us the shoes to do the same thing. Once we run through and torch the local bug and bird population, we come across a familiar face. It's Professor Oak. And after running all the way up to Professor Oak, we now have to run the whole way back. But thanks to our brand new Apple Watch, we can do basic things like checking where we are on the map, calling our best friend Joey from time to time, or even catching up with the local news. Breaking news! A red-headed child has just been seen stealing a baby alligator from Professor Elm's lab. Locals say the next thing he did was cause chaos in a Wendy's drive-thru in Florida. The suspect has yet to be identified, but if you see any edgelords with alligators, run and report to the police immediately. After stealing his lunch money, we report back to Elm's lab, and the police ask us if we got any information related to the thief, like his social security number, the street he grew up on, the last 4 digits of his credit card, or better yet, his identity. Are these actually the police? Anyhoozles, we've now been given full permission to travel the world and try to become champion, fighting local children, the working class, the occasional gang member, and even government officials. But hey, that's just Pokemon business, baby! Now that we're an unsupervised 10-year-old with a sentient flamethrower, we make our first stop into Violet City. In this grape-colored town, we make our way towards the first gym, only to be stopped and forced to climb up the Leaning Tower of OSHA violations, also known as the Sprout Tower, where we uproot every trainer in our path because a tower full of grass types can't compete with the power of fire. Faulkner stops our fiery-fueled fury to tell us that we can now challenge him, to which we easily destroy his team of Bird and Big Bird, treating our beloved flamethrower to some Kentucky Fried Pigeon. Since we can't travel west because a tree is blocking our path, we instead travel south, but not before making a stop in the ruins of Alph, where we quite literally discover the unknown. This alphabet soup of a Pokemon are classified as the same creature, but with different forms corresponding to a letter in the Latin language, and later including exclamation and question marks. In the Pokemon universe, people use the unknown to communicate, whether it be through ancient texts or hieroglyphics. I like this one. More concerningly is that while a single unknown may be weak by itself, if enough gather together, they can release hidden powers. Because that's the only attack they can learn. In all seriousness, they can create portals to other dimensions, distort reality as we know it, and create ridiculous puns in the mystery dungeon games. Like, seriously, look at these, I love them. As we're leaving the ruins, you can't help but notice a Pokemon hiding in the grass. It's a Wooper, and I think it'd be a great opportunity to add him to our team. And I mean, look at that face, he wouldn't hurt anyone. Oh. We've made our way to Azalea Town, where we meet up with Pokeball producer Kurt, and he tells us that there's trouble afoot in Slowpoke Well.
Huh?
It appears that Team Rocket is back, and after 3 years of Giovanni's defeat and retirement, they have resorted to the Pokemon black market, because apparently Slowpoke tails are delicious. But because Team Rocket hasn't learned from the last Pokemon video I made, they just as easily get destroyed, and we end up saving all the Slowpokes. He'll be fine. Now we can get to the Bug-type gym and beat up Bugsy, with our newly evolved Quilava, because after destroying a Grass-type tower and some Rocket Goons, fighting a Bug-type gym with a Fire-type feels like cheating at this point. Like seriously, how do you play this game in Chikorita? Not only are you weak to almost half the gyms, but you're also the worst designed starter of all time. Oh, don't boo me, I know I'm right. After putting Bugsy back into his coffin-sized chrysalis, we make our way into the Ilex Forest. But before we do, our rival is ready for the run-back, to which he absolutely gets destroyed by a scorching stoat and a murderous mudfish. Ignoring that last attempt at alliteration, in the Ilex Forest, we have 3 very important things happen. First, we play Ring Around the Rosie with a duck holding a vegetable. Second, we learn to cut down small trees. And last but not least, the most important thing we do is smash our Pokemon's head against trees in order to encounter Pokemon like Heracross.
Ah! Medic! Oh no! Ah, this is bad! Doctor! Look at me! Kiss me. Okay, enough.
Once we leave the forest and enter Route 34, we are introduced to an all-new mechanic in Pokemon, breeding. Pokemon breeding is actually super simple, so what you need to do first is to get 2 Pokemon of the same field group. For example, like a Wailord and a Skitty, they're part of the same field group, but then you need to get a male and female version of it. But there are some Pokemon that don't really have a gender, for example like Magnemite or Ditto for example, but then that brings us to how Ditto actually works, because any Pokemon can breed with Ditto because Ditto... Does that all make sense? Perfect, let's move on to Goldenrod City. The bustling metropolis that is Goldenrod City has many attractions the player can enjoy, such as checking out the department store for items, trying to win the lottery at the radio tower, or if you're feeling lucky, you can go play Pokemon Minesweeper, which I personally suck at, so we're just going to battle the normal type gym leader Whitney.
No.
Really?
No. No. Who sent all these babies to fight? I was told we would be fighting men. No. Very well. You are so small. It's funny to me. Let us fight man versus tiny baby man. No. Ready? Go! No. I am hero!
Now that we survived and defeated the literal beefcake that is Miltank, Whitney doesn't even want to give us our badge anymore, and instead throws a giant temper tantrum like a competitive Overwatch player on Twitter. Once she calms down and gives us our badge, we can also grab the squirt bottle from the neighboring flower shop. This item has only one main use. If you remember that tree blocking our path from 3 minutes and 55 seconds, we can water it and find out that's not a grass type tree, but a rock type Sudowoodo. With our newly caught Sudowoodo, we make our way into Ecruteak City, an old-fashioned town with a lot of story to tell. Or in this case, have a dude in a lab coat present that story to you in a somewhat funny, interesting way. Oh hey, that's me! There are a few important buildings in the city that we are going to have to save for later, like the theater and bell tower. But for now, our focus is going into and learning about the burned tower. 700 years ago in Ecruteak City, there were 2 towers on the east and west side of the city, each being a home for the legendary Pokemon known as Ho-Oh and Lugia. Times were peaceful for about 550 years until tragedy struck when a lightning bolt hit the West Brass Tower, causing flames to erupt, and the tower burned bright, until a sudden downpour had ceased the flame's rage. The home of Lugia had been destroyed, and 3 Pokemon were found to have perished in the aftermath. However, with the passing of one life, another has been born. Thanks to Ho-Oh of the Eastern Belt Tower, the 3 unknown Pokemon had been reborn into Pokemon of great strength and power, being dubbed the legendary beasts. People have debated whether or not they should be called legendary cats or legendary dogs based on how they look, but I'm just gonna go with beasts because it's easier for me, and that's also what the wiki calls them, but hey, you do you. The 3 beasts were said to represent the events that caused the tower's destruction: the speed and power of lightning given to Raikou, the ferocious strength and stamina of fire in Entei, and the protection of rain, preventing any more damage to be caused with Suicune. The lives of these Pokemon may have been saved, but the people of the city felt conflicted. A Pokemon with that much control over life could be dangerous. The people threatened the newly revived beasts and Ho-Oh only for them to flee without harming a soul, while Lugia rests elsewhere, hoping for one pure heart to find him. Fast forwarding another 150 years to when we enter the tower ourselves, and our rival is waiting there for another challenge. But he absolutely gets destroyed again because all he has added to his team is a Magnemite. We also get to meet Yusin, who has spent his entire life searching for Suicune, only for all of the 3 beasts to just be chilling downstairs. And they're gone. Well, this is where I get to talk about roaming legendaries. Another new mechanic is that the 3 beasts are now scattered across the map, and if you're lucky enough to be in the same route at the same time as them, you will get to encounter them and get a very, very slim chance of catching them. After spending what feels like another 700 years in Ecruteak, we fight Morty and get the Fog Badge, before then making our way to Olivine City. This portside town is home to the lighthouse, but trouble has sparked as the Ampharos, who works as the light in the lighthouse, has a tummy ache or something, and Gym Leader Jasmine can't fight you until we get medicine from the city across the sea. Now that we're in Cyanwood City to complete our side quest, we end up running into Suicune. I guess not then. Anyways, the only other thing of note that's here is the Safari Zone. We only get access to that once we end up suplexing Gym Leader Chuck into oblivion and getting the medicine to save Ampharos. With Ampharos now healed, we can finally challenge Gym Leader Jasmine, and I would be dismissive to not mention that you don't even need to fight the trainers as a thank you for saving Ampharos, which is such a cute detail that it almost makes me feel bad about melting her Steel-type Pokemon with my Jet Fuel Typhlosion's explosion. With 6 badges in hand, we make our way to Mahogany Town. This small village doesn't really have a lot going on, but if we head north and encounter some Team Rocket grunts, we make our way to the Lake of Rage, where we end up meeting Lance of the Kanto Elite Four has come to visit. After hearing reports about a Pokemon going in a blind fit of rage in the Lake of Rage, which makes total sense if you ask me, he was sent to investigate it, and upon closer inspection... Is that a red Gyarados? So, shinies, am I right, fellas? To explain shinies in 1 second. Cool, let's move on. With the Lake of Rage becoming the Lake of Peace and Tranquility, Lance takes us into a local Mahogany store where his crime sense was tingling, and finds out that the store was actually a cover-up for Team Rocket radio station, as it was emitting sound waves that was causing the Magikarp in the lake to go crazy and evolve, because he just knows that all of a sudden. After making his Dragonite move a bookshelf like he's the world's best IKEA employee, we find out that the entire town is right underneath a giant Team Rocket base, featuring multiple floors and a massive generator being powered by electrodes. How did nobody notice this? That makes sense. Once we free all the Electrode and do some double battles with Lance against their will, we can now go challenge the 7th gym leader, Bryson. And can you guess what type of Pokemon Bryson uses? That's right, Ice-type Pokemon. And do you know which starter is super effective against Ice-type Pokemon?
Hello there.
As we're leaving the gym with our 7th badge, we get a news notification from our Pokegear. Back in Goldenrod City, we have to disguise ourselves like a Team Rocket member in order to enter the building, which just goes to show you that if you have the right outfit and attitude, you can do whatever you want. If it wasn't for Silver, of course, who enters the building seconds later after us, reveals our disguise, and makes everyone aware of our presence. Like, dude, come on. It was Rocket Ravioli Wednesday. Besides my anger for Silver rising like hashtag Team Rocket on social media, we find out that Team Rocket has hijacked the place to try and get Giovanni's attention. Might I remind you that we are 10 years old, stopping an entire terrorist organization. At 10 years old, I still believe that screaming loud enough would make you a Super Saiyan. I guess dreams never die. Speaking of older videos, remember this from my Tekken one? And I swear on Harada's perfectly shining sunglasses that if Heihachi manages to live this, I will personally start streaming again. Well, I'm depressed to say that Harada's sunglasses have failed me. And I'll also be honest, I have no idea when or what time I'm going to be streaming, but I will do it. I just need to figure out when. So if you want to update on that, you should subscribe. Yeah, no, this is the worst call to action I've ever done in a video. I genuinely thought Heihachi was dead, but back to Pokemon. Find the director, kick Team Rocket's butt, and get some funny looking feathers as a reward, and we are now ready to challenge the last gym leader, Claire. But first, we need to do everyone's favorite thing in gaming. Ice puzzles! Despite Claire being a dragon-type gym leader, she really just feels like a water-type gym leader with some draconic spice sprinkled in with it, which is not a problem at all for our water-absorbing Quagsire. Abilities were a Gen 3 thing. I mean, technically abilities are in the remake of Heart Gold and Soul Silver, which is just the same game but with modern mechanics. And it's also really important to the final animation, so you should keep watching it because it's really cool and I worked really hard on it. And anyways, we're gonna move on. So, foreshadowing aside, Claire doesn't give us our badge yet because we aren't deemed worthy enough, which the only way to deem ourselves worthy is by going into the Dragon's Den. In the Dragon's Den, we take the what kind of Pokemon trainer are you personality quiz. And after forgetting to study all the questions, we somehow still get everything right, which forces Claire to acknowledge us and give us our final badge. Before we move on to Victory Road and the Elite Four, we can get into the legendary encounters of Ho-Oh and Lugia, as throughout our entire journey, we have been slowly encountering a bunch of kimono girls. When you finally encounter or save them from their situations, they'll be waiting for you at the Ecruteak Theater, where you can challenge them and their evolution team, and upon their defeat, you can gain access to the legendaries, which we can find Lugia in the Whirl Islands and Ho-Oh at the Bell Tower, starting our fated encounter. Finally, we have them. The legendary Guardian of the Skies and the legendary Guardian of the Seas, who isn't even a water type. Now, we're not going to use these two because it feels like cheating, and I already have a full team of 6 anyways for Victory Road and the Elite Four. We'll get to that. Our trek through Victory Road leads us into the final rival fight with Silver, and it is here I realized we have no idea who he actually is. After bonding over our shared experience of absent fathers, Silver decides to turn his back on his criminal history and resides to train in the Dragon's Den, where he hopefully takes an alligator management class. Elite Four time! First we fight the Magic Man Will and his team of Psychic types, only to move on to Koga, who actually got a promotion from Gym Leader to Elite Four member, but that does not change how much he gets destroyed by our team. As we move on to Bruno, who has deleted Twitter since we last fought him, he has new additions to his team, like Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee, and also Beyblade. With 3 down and 1 to go, we meet up with every Walmart's worst nightmare, Karen. However, this one's actually pretty chill, as her famous quote goes, "Strong Pokemon, weak Pokemon, that is only the selfish perception of people, truly skilled trainers to try to win with their favorites." Finally, it was time to take on the champion, to which no one's surprise is Lance. We are now the champions of the Johto region and are given full access to the Kanto region, going through a similar story, fighting the 8 gym leaders and rematching the Elite Four to prove that we are truly the best. Since we also go through a similar story in the Kanto region, let's recap what happens in the Gen 1 Pokemon games. With our champion name known across the entire world and being unmatched, we have one more challenge to take: Mount Silver, where after the trials and tribulations of the mountain, we meet our final opponent. Yeah, I know, it's me. As much as I want to yap for the next 10 minutes about why I'm stupid and why this video took so long, I am not going to do that. But instead, I'm going to show you a massive wall of text explaining everything. Hopefully I can make up for my stupidity someday, somehow, but for now, I'm going to leave you with the ending of this video, as well as my very first post-credits scene to show you what the next video is going to be about, and also just thank you for understanding my whole situation. I know that was a massive wall of text that you probably didn't read, but if you did, thank you, and yeah, I'm gonna leave and go get a haircut now. Now we are truly the best, like no one ever was. Unfortunately, that's not enough to bring our father back, so, you know, that kind of sucks. But hey, we get one in Gen 3.